Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. In this week's video, I'm going to be walking you through my Jibun Techo. I'm going to give you a little bit of a walkthrough of how I use it, some of the tools that I use, and my thoughts on using this system after 8 weeks. So stay tuned. So this is the Jibun Techo, the standard version. I got this without the life book and the notes. If you're new to the Jibun Techo system, usually you get the diary, a life book at the beginning and a notebook at the end, but I decided to go for just the diary. I felt like I didn't need the life book or the notes in the back. I also purchased the A5 version. This is the B6 Slim, but I also purchased the A5 from work. It didn't quite work out for me for work. I've decided to abandon that and use a bullet journal instead. So I had a rough idea of what was in the life planner and the notebook in the back because that came with the A5 version. So for my personal planner, I decided just to go for the notebook itself, sorry, the diary itself. A little bit of an overview of some of the tools that I use. So I keep my Jibun Techo in this, which is a Rotafaden Taschenbegleiter. It's similar to a traveler's notebook, but instead of strings, you get clips that you can clip the notebooks into. And I use it in conjunction with this, which is just a plain notebook that I use as scratch paper for noting down random thoughts, random lists, anything else that I need. And this, which is new in my system, which is going to be a little bit more of a life planner. So thinking more about goals, future, 5 years down the line, bigger plans, which I'm just kind of feeling I can't plan properly in the Jibun Techo. The pen that I use is the Uniball 1, I think. Yes, the Uniball 1 0.5. I really love these pens. I used to be a Uniball Signo fan, but recently moved over to these. First of all, they look really nice. You can get them in so many different colours, although I've only just got black. But the ink is incredible. It's so pigmented. I absolutely love it. I also use keto tapes, or at least I'm starting to use keto tapes a bit more. I like to use these to block out time or cover up mistakes. Half of the keto tape is actually the exact width of the vertical day in the weekly, where am I talking about? Half of a keto tape is the same width as one of the days in the vertical weekly. So it's great for covering up your mistakes. I also use these a lot. These are the Hobonichi stencils. I mainly use this one. I use the different icons to keep notes, and I also use the numbers sometimes. But these are really, really handy to have around. I also use them as a straight edge, of course. And the thing that I've been using a lot in my Jibun Techo, which you'll see when we go in, are these Zig dot markers. I use each one for different areas of my life. So I use the pink one for tasks, errands, things that I need to get done on a day-to-day basis. Blue is for health and well-being. Green is for goals and money tracking. And yellow is for events and really important stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much an overview of the tools that I use. I'm now going to set these aside and we'll jump straight into the notebook. Okay, let's jump right in. In the Jibun Techo, in case you didn't know, there's 4 key sections. The first one I called the collections section. So this is where they have different spreads similar to this, where you collect different pieces of information across the year. You then have the Gantt chart section, which I use for habit tracking, a monthly section, and a weekly section. Let me just find a random week. That's not a very good one. There we go. A weekly section as well. There is no notes at the back of this. It pretty much ends on the last week and goes straight into a bit of a reflection and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of maps. That's because usually you would have like the notebook in the back, but for me, it doesn't really bother me that much. But just so you're aware, if you did need that note space, make sure you get the notes insert as well. So starting off at the beginning, there were a couple of bits of information pages, an overview, a yearly calendar, which I've been using to track all my workouts, although I haven't been keeping on top of this too much. I don't tend to use this kind of spread. I always just fall off it, so we'll see. You then have a My Dream 2024. I need to come in here and put all my information in. The whole planner is in Japanese, so you do have to do a little bit of translating, but I've just been writing over some of the Japanese with my own categories, for example, but I need to come back and do this. The next one, the next one is your money plan. So I've been using this to track my expenses. Let's just cover that. Nobody needs to know how much I spend on stationery. You then get a Japan map. Haven't used this, but this might be a good space for some post-it notes. They then give you a completely blank weekly spread for you to jot down how you think you're going to use it. I started putting down some ideas, but then just kind of realized that I wanted to figure it out as I went along, so scrapped that. Get 100 wishes list. I've put in some of my wishes for this year. One of them I've already done, which was get a new job, which I did earlier on this year. The next one is favorite phrases. I didn't need that, but one of the things that I did need to be able to track in here is my swimming. I swim quite a lot, and as you can see here, I basically create like a bar chart. I need to do last week's. I'm training at the minute for a swimathon, so I've stuck in my training plan in here, just using otter washi tape, so that I can keep an eye on what I'm meant to be doing. Recommendation list. I've only had one recommendation lately, or at least one recommendation that I've actually bothered to put in this planner. Book list, good for me. I've only read 3 books this year, which was great because I did them all in the first week, but then I've completely fallen off and just haven't been reading that much since, so I need to get back on that. Movie list. On here, I'm just tracking the films that have come out recently. I do have a couple that I might put in here, but if I watch a film that like came out last year or the year before, or like in the 90s or whatever, I won't track it. But if I watch a film that comes out whilst I'm in this planner, I should say, because some of these were last year, then I will track it on here. And I have different color codings for streaming, cinema or other, and the same with the book list. Actually, I was going to track, I haven't done it yet, but I was going to track whether it's an ebook, a physical book or an audiobook, because I do listen to all 3. Run tracker. These 2 are actually gifts given and gifts received, but I didn't really want to track that, so instead I'm tracking my running. Haven't done much running in December and January, which is pretty normal for me because I hate running in winter. I don't like running on treadmills. I prefer running outside, but I did manage to go out for a run this morning, so I've tracked that. Promise list. I think I might repurpose this, but I don't really have anything that I need to repurpose it with. And then over here, I've also got a social log. One of my, I'm quite an introvert, and one of my goals this year is to be a little bit more social and see more friends and get out a little bit more. And as you can tell, I went for a walk with my friend Jess and her dog Finn, and I obviously prioritise hanging out with dogs more than I do with people, but we'll see. And then this is my YouTube list. So I've basically written down the week and what I plan on releasing. This has already changed because my system has changed and I no longer use my A6 and I no longer use my media journal, and I will be releasing a video soon about my changes after doing a little bit of a recap in January. Okay, now we're getting into the Gantt chart section, and I'll be honest, this is what attracted me the most to the Jibun Techo. I am a big habit tracker. I love tracking things and logging things. Don't do anything with the data. It doesn't change my bad habits, but I do enjoy doing it. This is December 2023, and I very much kind of, as you can see, changed my approach to how I track the information. I was originally tracking eating out and writing down here where I was eating, but then I realized I don't really need to know that. So in January, I have switched up how I use this, and this is a lot more effective. For these, I use the Zig clean dot markers. In fact, I can do today's habit tracker. I've drunk some water, well done me. I worked out. I did drink an energy drink, one of my problems. I was very productive today, and I haven't journaled yet, so I can't. Oh no, I have journaled. I journaled this morning. There we go. So I'm keeping all my habits there, and then I'm keeping my mood in here. I'll come back to tracking my mood in a second because that's one of the features of the Jibun Techo that hasn't worked for me. The next section is the monthly. This I'm still figuring out how to use. I'm not the best monthly planner. I don't like having to repeat things. So I tend to find that if something happens, like if I schedule something for a week and I'm in that week, I'll just put it directly into the weekly layout. But here I track things that like future, that happen in the future. I also am trying to track my workouts. So I've got a bit more of an overview of how I'm doing on my fitness. I haven't been great at it. So this I need to improve a little bit. I use these Traveler's Notebook dots for my lady time, my period. And yeah, I do also kind of keep notes on things that have happened throughout the month. Like I got told I got my new job on the 10th, so I could put that in there. I've been using this green dot marker to plan out some social media content. I was going to do some shorts, but I just haven't got around to doing them yet. Oh, I can tick that off. I went to go to the Canary Wharf lights. So yeah, and then I do have, like, for instance, if I'm away, like next week I'm at Bristol, I will draw a big box around them. I've been using my Hobonichi stencils for birthdays, keeping a little bit of a running list of things that I need to get done that month. Although, not gonna lie, I can't even read that. Oh, Yoko Ono exhibit. There's a Yoko Ono exhibit at Tate happening. And yeah, just more kind of key events, but not too much in here at the moment. Okay, now we're moving on to my weeklies. So let me get to the beginning here. So I moved into this planner on the week commencing the 11th of December, so over a month ago. And I very much just like went in, played around. I watched quite a lot of videos on YouTube about how other people use their travel notebook, how they use their Jibun Techo, and tried implementing some of their stuff just to see what worked for me. I am now today is the 29th, and I do think now I have I do now think that over these weeks I have figured out what works and what doesn't work for me. It's actually quite interesting coming back to here and seeing how I originally used it. So one thing I have decided not to do is put stickers in. And this is a bit of a shame because I love using stickers in all of my notebooks. But one of the downsides of this Jibun Techo is that the colours are really quite bold, for me at least. I'm used to a Hobonichi Weeks or a Traveler's Notebook where there's no colour whatsoever, so you can kind of create your own themes and use stickers and create that colour yourself. It bugged me at first, but then I was kind of like, you know what, I'll get over it. And then I still use I probably use too many stickers in my other notebooks to overcompensate it. But next year what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the Jibun Techo Light, because that doesn't have any colours on it at all. It's all just grayscale. And also the Gantt chart and the monthlies are on the same page. So I just kind of feel like it's a better fit for me, but I don't want to waste this planner, so I'm just going to wait until next year. I was tracking my workouts at the top, which I still do. I've been doing that since I was in it, so I still do that this week. I was then also tracking my sleep. I was marking off when I was waking up. This was quite a good idea at the time because I was having issues with my sleep. As you can see here, I woke up 30 minutes before I was meant to start work. Luckily, I worked from home, else that would have been very interesting. And then I was blocking out my work and creating to-do lists and keeping notes inside this block to kind of take advantage of that space. I was then keeping random notes. So here it said, watched Ghost Train on Netflix, crappy and frustrating day at work, moved into my Jibun Techo. I was then tracking food at the bottom and how much I spent each day at the bottom as well. And then had a running to-do list down the side. So a pretty simple setup, to be honest. It worked really well. But one of the things that I did learn is that I did not need to track my sleep. These boxes I replaced with my zig dot markers. I think I must have got my zig dot markers. Yeah, Amazon order coming. That's when I got my zig dot markers, and that completely changed my life. Going into this week, this was Christmas, so I wasn't particularly using my planner as much because I was back home. Well, I travelled back home. I obviously ignored the columns here and just put down my to-do list to get it down there. This was Christmas week, so I was back at my parents' house, still tracking my sleep. I didn't get up till 11 these 2 days, but I suppose that's why when you're at your mum and dad's, you can just sleep all day. It doesn't really matter. I was keeping up with tracking what I was eating and my budget. £293.80 that day. Oh, I bought a new fountain pen, that's why it's so high. Blocking out some time to catch up on journals, and also starting to use my Hobonichi stencils to track what I'm reading. Got a little heart around listening to audiobooks and doing my cross stitch. Walking, I drew a little television because I didn't have a television stencil. And at this point as well, I was still tracking my mood. So on the Jibun Techo, I should say, there are some trackers. You can track the weather up here at the top. I don't know whether you can see that, whether that helps. You can track the weather at the top, and you can also track your mood down here. But for me, it didn't really work because you can't see the overview of your mood. It's not very clear. So that's why I went back to tracking my mood on this Gantt chart section instead of doing it in here. So yeah, still hadn't completely figured out how I want to use it, but getting better. This is my first week back at work, back in London. Still using the bottom to track meals and budget, which was really good. £234. I was in budget that week. I was using this top section instead of tracking sleep. I was tracking what I needed to do each day. This was quite a busy week because I had it was obviously New Year's Day. I had to travel back to London, back to work. I had a job interview. So quite a lot going on. I was still using the Sig dot markers to mark out tasks, to really highlight them. This is revolutionary to me because it really does just draw my attention to these, and I can see that I did not take out the recycling that day. And then I was also using on the Hobonichi stencil, let me just grab it, there's this hour slot thing, and I've noticed that this actually covers 2 hours in your Jibun Techo, 2 hours of the timeline. So I was using that to kind of call out different important blocks of time. But yeah, and then I was also starting to use, although I think I did this, yeah, I've been doing this pretty much the entire time. It's just writing a bit of a summary of what happened that day, which I was finding really useful when doing my A6 journal. This is still pretty much the same, although one of the things that I started to do was use this top bit here before I start work to put my task list to kind of keep them in the same place. I was also finding that now that I was back at work, I couldn't really, back here, I wasn't working this day, so 5 tasks was not a problem. But on a working day, if I have more than 3 tasks, I struggle to get them done. So I just kind of went back to having 3 or 4 tasks to do, went back to planning my workouts up here, and then in the work section I was actually starting to keep notes about what was going on, and yeah, kept a note about tube strikes that didn't end up happening, which is the bane of our existence here in London at the moment. And then pretty much the same thing the following week, although I did change one thing. I've started putting my 3 daily tasks up here in the top section and keeping them there. Again, keeping notes about work. I separated out some of my weekly tasks. So I put some goals, chores and to-do just to kind of separate them out. I was also this week trying to read more. So I put a little reading tracker down here, and the goal was that for every 10 minutes I read, I would give myself a little square, or maybe even 5 minutes, I'd give myself a square. But as you can see, completely unsuccessful on that. Then this was last week. Last week went pretty well, although the tail end of last week, I actually got quite sick and just really, really tired and really felt the January blues. So I've kind of fallen behind on my daily update and meals and budget. But I've decided that I'm okay with that. I'm not going to bother going back and filling that in. That's not the point of this. I'm just going to leave it as is. And then we get to this week, where I've got a big list of things that I need to do to catch up on because I was really ill at the weekend. Okay, so that's a walkthrough of how I use my planner. I need to set up this week because it's currently the evening of Monday, so I'm already behind and it's not even the end of Monday yet. Pros. The pros of the Jibun Techo. First of all, it's really slim and light. It is a B6 slim, so let me just grab a B6. Have I got a B6? No, I do actually, in here. So this is a B6 notebook, so it is just about a centimetre slimmer than a B6, but the same height. It's quite thin, really light. I also really like the paper. I think this is, it's Kikuyo's own paper, but I don't think it's the Biz paper. I think it's a little bit different. I think the Jibun Techo Biz has the Biz paper in, but this is different. It's a little bit smoother than the Hobonichi, I feel, but it takes pen so much better than a Hobonichi. In fact, the smudging of pens in Hobonichis is one of the reasons why I've kind of decided to no longer use a Hobonichi. But I tend to just use my Uniball one. And it works great in here, no smudging whatsoever. It's also got a really nice crinkle to it when you go through pages that you've already used. I think it takes stickers really well. Obviously, I don't use stickers in my notebook anymore, but these ones that are in here, it doesn't feel like the page is gonna break because it's got a sticker on it. Obviously, it will bulk up over time if you did use stickers every single week, but I think quality-wise, I think the quality of this paper is a lot better than Tomoe River paper if you are not as careful with your notebooks, if that makes sense. Downsides is probably the colours. I think it's not particularly my style. I deliberately went with zig dot markers to try and embrace the colour a little bit more, but I'm usually a kind of brown, olive green, Travelers Company style aesthetic, so this is very new to me. I'm okay with it, but I think next year I'm definitely going to get the Jibun Techo Light, which doesn't have any of the colours on it. The other downside I do think is that there are quite a few pages in here that are kind of just not relevant for me, like the age chart. I don't even know what this is. The Japan maps, like especially all of the tube maps in the back, well, so I suppose subway maps, right? Route maps and stuff for Japan. Obviously just not relevant for me, but I think that they answered that problem in the Jibun Techo Lite, where all of these collections pages are blank. They don't have any titles, so you can really just use them however you wish. Other than that, I have no qualms. And I think all of my challenges with this notebook are answered with Jibun Techo Lite. Okay, so that is how I use my Jibun Techo and some of my thoughts on the planner system. I'm just checking my notes to make sure that I've said everything that I wanted to say. I have. If you do have any questions about this system or how I use it, please leave them down in the comments. I'd be happy to help. I will be keeping you updated on how I'm getting on with this planner throughout the year, but at the moment I do feel like I will be in this for at least the majority of the year. I'm really happy, really content. In fact, at the weekend, part of my little kind of drama, overwhelmed reason why I was ill was that I was thinking about scrapping the Jibun Techo and moving back into a Traveller's Vertical weekly, but I actually kind of just, my heart was like, no, we need to stay in this. This is good for me. We're happy here, so I moved back in. If you've got any questions, please leave them down below. I'd be happy to help, and yeah, I will see you in the next one.